Hey guys, welcome back. And in today's video, we're gonna try to jump into a project that I've been putting off with the windshield washer fluid reservoir. Let's get into it. I bought a wrecked 2012 Nissan 370Z that was completely written off. Most people would have walked away, but not me. We're about to give this thing a whole new life, rebuilding it, modding it, and taking it way beyond stock. Hit subscribe and follow the Z rebuild. This thing is going to be wild. If you're new to the channel, my name is Matt. Welcome. Behind me, I have a 370Z that I bought wrecked at auction, and we've been slowly trying to get it rebuilt for a trip we have planned to head down south. But today we're going to tackle a project that I've been putting off for quite a while. For those of you who have been following the build, you will know that once we got everything replaced, such as the radiator support, put everything back, our bash bar and whatnot, there is one thing we haven't messed with, and that is the washer fluid reservoir. The reason behind that is during the accident, the plug, the miniature harness, the actual reservoir itself, all that was absolutely destroyed. So with that presented a few challenges. The first challenge is the washer fluid reservoir itself. They use two different models on the cars. From 2009 to 2012 uses this style, and on 2013 to 2020 it uses a different style. As you can imagine, since the reservoir is different, that means the filler neck is different. So this is actually the original filler neck that was salvaged from the crash. So with that, you may be wondering, why was a washer fluid reservoir slowing you down that much? Well, here's the reason why. It's actually because of this little harness right here. This is off of a 2010 model that I was able to pick up. And it did have the, let's see, where is it at? Okay, right here. It did have the DRL option. We do not have that, so we're going to be ignoring this, but this is the closest thing I could get to the original harness. So when we bounce back to what's on the car, as you can see, we have 4 pins and there's 2 blanks. So we have a 6-way connector. And when we come back over here, we have 6 wires. 2 for our washer fluid level sensor, 2 for the pump, and then 2 for the DRLs on a 8-way connector. I'll go ahead and post a picture here. That is actually the original connector, the original little harness that came with this car in this particular year. Thankfully, I was able to source this. So with this is not the correct part number. This 240703GY0B, this is not the original harness for the car. However, because I was able to find this pigtail and have both ends of the connector, what that's going to allow us to do is take this 6-way connector and then add the 8-way connector plug onto it. We will then just blank off 4 of those plugs, and we'll use the 2 wires for the washer fluid sensor, but then also the pump as well, and everything will be plug and play, OEM, and actually even the wire colors themselves will be the same on both sides of the harness. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and jump into the broken connector on the car and start depinning it. What this means is we're going to take and separate the pins from the actual connector to itself. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but when you're looking at this, for those of you who would never depend anything, with most connectors, you have a couple of different pieces. So you have a seal that goes around your connector, which we don't from the accident. And then you also have a cap that goes in this center portion. And what this cap does, it actually locks all of the pins in place so that nothing can become depinned as you're connecting it, or just through normal unplugging and plugging in of the connector. Well, those seals and that cap are gone for us since the car was in an accident. So what you try to see it here, what you can see is there's a little clip, and you'll need a depinning tool. You can actually put it down in that clip, and it pulls that plastic clip away from the pin. And what this does is it will actually allow you to free up that pin and then pull it back out. I actually ended up changing tools. I don't know if you can see that, but this has 2 different leading edges. And so as you can see here, I already did one. Basically, I press it down, so this longer edge actually pulls the tab away, and then the shorter leading edge will actually push the pin back. So as you can see how that height changed, now we're going to be able to pull that out the back here. We'll go ahead and get all of them loosened up so that way we can pull it out all as one. And just like that, we now have the damaged connector removed. So when we look back at this little pigtail that came with our other harness, you'll notice a couple things that we did not have on our 6-way connector that came off of the car. One of those is, this is the seal, the little gasket that I was talking about that is inside the connector. This ensures a water seal tight whenever the connectors actually meet. The other thing that you will see inside of this connector is this green cap. That is actually what goes over those clips, those little tabs that hold the pins in place, to ensure that those pins do not back out when inserting into the opposing connector. What we are going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and start, we're going to get the seal, little gasket pulled out, and then get that cap removed so we have access to those tabs. I actually had to fight with this quite a bit to get this cap out, but here you can get an idea of what that looks like. It's not just a simple cap that sits on top, but it does actually go into the plug to ensure that those tabs do not come undone. What ended up working for me was I had a Klein terminal strip screwdriver that was actually able to go down into the connector and just simply pop it out. But that's what worked best for me. So now that we have all of that removed, we'll go ahead and begin depinning this side as well. Also, pro tip, if you haven't already, make sure that you take pictures of your wires before you start depinning. That way you know what side is which. I always use the little tab as kind of a reference to know where they go. And just like that, we now have this connector ready to go. One thing that we are going to do is, you can see there are these plugs. We're actually going to take 2 of the plugs out of our original connector and put those in here. That way we can have that sealed connector, but then also that OEM Plus look, and no one would ever know that this was the original connector. It was broken off. Now we are going to go ahead and get these wires pinned back into the new connector. So one, again, pro tip mentioned before is making sure that you take a picture of the connector before you start pulling wires out. Some connectors are anywhere from 12, 14, 16, 18, 24, even 36. And so making sure that you know exactly where everything goes is super important. This connector is only 4 wires for what we are using. That's very basic. It's easy to remember. But make sure you do that. That way, if you've never done it before, you know exactly where things go. So let's go ahead and start pinning this one. What's really nice about this is, as you start doing it, taking it apart is a little bit more complicated, but literally when you're putting it together, it's as simple as just pushing the wire back in, and you'll hear that nice little click, and now your wire is locked into place. So you'll want to go ahead around and do that for the remaining wires. This one's being a little stubborn, so we're going to give it a little help. Just like that. All right. And now, even though the connector is overkill, we only have these 4 wires out of the 8 possibilities, but it literally looks like an OEM connector. So we'll go ahead and get this wire jacket back on. And just like that, it looks like a factory connector again. So now we can go ahead and start getting the actual reservoir put on. I don't know how I almost forgot. Do not forget your cap and your seal. These are going to be really important to ensure the longevity and the waterproofness of these connectors. So this side of everything is good to go. Went ahead and got the wire jacket back on, threw some tape on there just in case. And then also you can see where we have the cap and the seal in. So now let's jump into the other part of this harness. Now jumping back into this side of things, as I mentioned before, we are going to be using these two connectors for the washer fluid level sensor, but then also the pump as well. What we do not have on this car is fog lights. So since we have this 8-way connector, you can see here we have our 4 wires that we'll actually be using, and then these 2 wires are going to be for that DRL. So what we're going to do is go ahead and depin these 2 so we can pull this wire directly out, and it will be like it was never there to begin with. After thinking about it, I actually decided to not remove these from the harness, and the reason why is I do not have any of these little blue caps to cap off those 2 pins once I actually remove that part of the harness. And so in an effort to keep it seal tight, I'm going to go ahead and leave those in there. Honestly, they're not hurting anything. I may find a way to either zip tie this or tape it up just so it's not hanging down or anything like that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and keep that on there, and we'll go ahead and start on the install of the washer fluid reservoir. Just like that, we now have our washer reservoir on. This car is really slowly coming together. Really happy about that. So again, we utilize the original filler neck, have some new push pins in there. Everything is absolutely solid. If you look back here, this is the connector that we originally had. Not the original connector, but the one that we bought. I ended up just taking the DRL harness and just taping it up. I'm not too concerned about it, especially because there will be a splash guard here. But everything looks really good. Really happy with how that turned out. So if you ever have a connector or anything like a connector that broke, or maybe you just need to replace a connector, or maybe you're doing a wiring job and you want it to look really good, so you want to get some seal tight connectors, this is a way of doing it. As you can see, it gives some really good OEM results. Everything's going to stay safe and dry and kind of out of the way of elements, dirt and debris and whatnot. So I'm really happy. I'm trying to keep everything as OEM as possible as we do this. But to give a little backstory on that harness, if you look at the picture that I showed you earlier, there is a part number on that harness. So that original harness, I've searched and scoured the internet for. I went to multiple Nissan dealerships, including online as well, and that harness has been discontinued. So then I started resorting to eBay, Facebook Marketplace, but same thing there. Only thing I could find was harnesses from an 09, which is actually the whole passenger harness, and it runs down into the washer fluid reservoir. So I'd have to buy the whole thing and then splice everything in. I didn't want to do that. Or I could source a 2013 to 2020 harness and pigtail, depin everything, and get it repinned and have a solid connection and the harness that I need. So that's what we did. But overall, it appears that Nissan did something on the 370Z with the 09 year, 2010 to 2012 year, and then 2013 to 2020 year. So this has been quite a learning experience, as a 370Z is a new platform for me. But nonetheless, everything is ready to go. So this is a massive step in the right direction to getting the front end tied together. And overall, super stoked. But if you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like down below, comment, and we'll see you later, guys. Peace.